In a season where there's been a tremendous amount of discussion early on about who might be leading the MVP race, which is kind of funny because at the end of the day, nobody really knows until at least 2/3 of the way through the year. But Giannis Antetokounmpo is having an amazing season, and despite that, his candidacy remains on the back burner compared to guys like Luka Doncic and Celtics superstar Jason Tatum. And the main reason for that, despite Giannis carrying the Bucks through Chris Middleton's early season injury, is that his shooting percentages are, by his lofty standards, genuinely disappointing. I think it's super important to start out by establishing the reality that I have tremendous admiration and respect for Giannis, both as a human being in terms of his generosity, his commitment to his family, and his work ethic. He has maybe the characteristic I find most impressive in any professional. The best never rest on their laurels, even through success. Giannis won an NBA championship and he came back the next season a better player. He never stops improving or attempting to improve his game or an aspect of his game every offseason. And most of the time, he succeeds, certainly in terms of improving his physicality and the impact of said physicality over time. And the best part, perhaps, in terms of building a sustained winner, which they've been able to do in Milwaukee, is that work ethic, that commitment to goals, that commitment to getting better rubs off on your coworkers, on your teammates. Brook Lopez is a guy who has improved his defense massively over the past couple of seasons, and now he is a legitimate, bona fide Defensive Player of the Year candidate. Grayson Allen has improved a ton, even though he's still doing dirty things, according to DeMar DeRozan.
If you watch the play out, watch Patrick Williams. He gave him a push. Grayson seemed to accentuate a little bit, thinking he was going to get the foul call on Patrick Williams. We see guys flop a little bit, sell it all the time. Obviously, DeMar taking exception to that.
For those who saw the Redeem Team documentary on Netflix, there's a really interesting scene where LeBron, Carmelo, and a couple of other guys come back from the club, and early in the morning, Kobe, who was staying in their team hotel, is already on the way to work out. And then a week later, it's interesting to note that everybody, all of those players who came back from the club and partying, were now working out every morning with Kobe.
As we walking down, slubbing with sleep in our eyes, Kobe Bryant is sitting there with ice on his knees already, right? So we walk up to Kobe, like, Kobe, what's up? And he was like, yeah, man, I just finished a workout and I'm about to go do another one. And at that moment, I was like, wait, hold on. We just worked out about 3 hours ago. You know what I mean? And like, you've done another workout and you about to go do another one. That's when I was like, okay, I got to get my stuff together. I got to get my shit together, because this dude right here is on a whole different level than even I'm on. And I'm supposed to be great.
That's the type of thing, the type of work ethic that you see Giannis having and probably has rubbed off on his teammates over time. That's how championship cultures are established. Now, all that said, this season there have been some worrisome signs from Giannis, and we need to explore them a little bit. His effective field goal percentage is in the 27th percentile, down from 65th last year. His three-point percentage is in the 12th percentile. He's shooting 24.7% overall. And if we're going to be consistent and we criticize and laugh at Russell Westbrook every time he takes a three-pointer and it goes off the side of the backboard.
Just talk about how he's worked on his game.
Nance shows double, recovers outside on Westbrook, who leans in.
What the Blazers refer to it.
Westbrook outside trying to counter with a three, and that's a
Jack, especially when your team is playing pretty good team defense.
Missed the final 47 last year. What happened there?
We have to hold Giannis to the same standard. If you're shooting 24.7% from three and you're taking 3 3-pointers a game, maybe you should stop. That 1 3-pointer you make per game, if that, is not going to all of a sudden make the other team start respecting you from that range. You're Giannis Antetokounmpo. Teams are always going to be worried about you rampaging to the basket and dunking over 2 people. Unless you prove over a very large sample size that you can shoot the 3-pointer at least 30% rate, probably better, they're never going to respect you from that distance. And so failing that, when you're taking 3 3-pointers a game at 24.7%, you're hurting your team, period. And there is a definite tipping point where if you keep doing it, despite the results, it's more than stubborn, it's selfish. And when you play a team like the Celtics in the conference finals or somewhere around there, if you waste possessions against another great team, that can cost you a series. And I'm sure Giannis knows that, at least on some level, but he has to functionalize it outside of situations where it's late clock and he absolutely has to launch or else face a shot clock violation. And we have yet to touch on perhaps the biggest statistical elephant in the room when it comes to Giannis' shooting this season, which is his major struggle from the free throw line. He's taking almost 13 free throws a game at 64%. And it is important to note, Giannis has been a pretty bad free throw shooter throughout his career, but two things are important to accentuate here. One, he did seem to have turned the corner last year in shooting around 72%. And two, that differentiation, the difference between 72% and 64%, can absolutely be the difference in games when one is shooting free throws at that high a volume that consistently. And until Giannis's athleticism starts to significantly diminish, that will probably always be the case. His free throw shooting is something he absolutely has to solve. And of course, Milwaukee has still done fine this year, despite Giannis's relative shooting struggles, but it was a bit of a warning sign that on this most recent road trip, which in context was hilariously difficult, the Pelicans, Cavaliers, Nets, Celtics, and then a still upstart and dangerous Bulls team represents a ridiculous test on the road for any team, but losing 4 straight is still losing 4 straight. And even though the still underrated Chris Middleton hasn't played in a couple weeks after coming back from an injury and then re-injuring himself, it was not the best of signs. And it's completely fair to ask the question, am I being too harsh here? Am I nitpicking an absolutely great, historic talent force in the NBA? And the answer is yes, but at the same time, the overriding reality is this. When great teams play each other, like they would if both Boston and Milwaukee were healthy in the playoffs, those series are often decided by the absolute slimmest of margins. And if Milwaukee wants to win another championship, they need to get the absolute most efficiency they can from Giannis, including but not limited to from the free throw line. So Giannis has to fix this, and preferably fix it in an arena where they're not trying to set up some ladders under the basket, because that didn't go so well in Philadelphia.
Do it. Is he making it move the ladder? Dude, don't be an asshole. What the? What?
But at the end of the day, I have a tremendous amount of confidence in Giannis that he will do his best to figure it out. Whether he actually will or not this season remains to be seen, and I can't wait to see this season play out. As basketball fans, we are being treated to a truly historic MVP race this season. Luka's dropping Wilt Chamberlain-like numbers, and all the game is really asking from us as fans is to sit back and enjoy it the best we can. We should do that.